All right, everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're going to make a longer video today. I think this one's very necessary. I think it goes with kind of the vibe of my channel, just in the sense of like wanting to talk about my story and how I got here, what drives me to be motivated to keep going on through school and just, kind of life in general, wanting to do community work and all of that. I think it's important for people to be more vulnerable and tell their story. There's not enough people doing that. I really hope to show people that it's okay, to share your story. I want to show people that you can, it's going to be okay, that there's going to be good things to come from it. There's going to be people to support you, and hopefully just see other people's stories too. I mean, I don't know. We'll just see. But yeah, so I want to talk about today my story of like how I was detained, back in my hometown, kind of the build up for it, the context behind it, and what ended up happening from it. So yeah, the year was 2017. To give you context for 2017 in general, it was really crazy. So you kind of had, it was a little bit of the start of the BLM movement back home in the Charleston area. We had, Walter Scott, we had Charleston 9, we had all these different things happen. And plus, I love my home state, but, in South Carolina, it is a more conservative area. So, there's just a lot more tension just in that sense, right? Or kind of, I wouldn't go as far as to say maybe a dismissal, but I mean kind of a dismissal. It doesn't feel as tangible. For me, I can say, oh man, that's definitely real, or that's definitely a thing. But until you know somebody that's directly been affected, or you see something happening, I mean, I don't know, you can make excuses for it a lot. And so I think for me, it was a Sunday. And so I worked at a trampoline park, right? And so I was driving on this Sunday morning. It was in the spring. It was right before I went to college. So, I was, kind of figuring out where I wanted to go, what I was doing. I was excited. And I was pulling out of my neighborhood, and this cop car decided to follow me. I'm 17, 18. I was very nervous. So, I don't have no business doing anything like that. Kind of followed me for a few miles, and it pulls me over in front of this church. I'm nervous as hell. I'm just sitting there like, oh, I don't know. So both of the officers come on both ends of the vehicle I was driving at the time. I roll the window down. Immediately it's, oh, do you have weed in here? I was like, no, sir. You got to have alcohol in here. No. Why are you so nervous? Well, I'm nervous because it's my first time being pulled over. I mean, like, what do you say to that? What's in the bag? Because kind of in the middle part of my car was my bag for school, right? And so I was like, my school supplies? He said, oh, okay. That's what they all say. Okay. He was like, I need your license and registration. I said, okay. So, as most of us are taught, you're doing the 10 and 2, then you ask for permission. So I look at him and I'm just like, hey, can I reach for it? He said, I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. And then he puts his hand on his holster. So I was sitting there, I was like, okay. And so I said, I'm gonna reach for it now. And he was like, do what you want to do. So I took that leap of faith. Obviously, I gave him my license and registration, all of that. Comes back, and basically his partner's just searching my car up and down, right? Like sticking the flashlight through the car, all of that. And so, he seemed to be gone forever, but I texted my parents in that moment, and I just was like, hey, I just want to let y'all know this doesn't look good, but just know if something happens, like I tried my best, I complied, all these different things, right? I'm literally like 5 or so minutes from my house. And so my dad, he was like, I'm on the way. I didn't know what to expect. There's just a lot of horror stories about just unarmed men of color, right? He comes back after a while and he was like, I need you to get out. For me, I was just like, oh, well, why? I didn't do anything. You're trying to assert your right or what you think you're doing. And he said, well, I'm going to give you two options. You can either get out or I'm going to throw you out. You can pick. All right, I'm going to get out. I obviously had to get out and, he detained me. My dad, thankfully, right? My dad shows up and he's kind of sitting there. That's when he kind of wanted to taunt me a little bit and was just like, oh, so like you're getting your daddy to fight your battles for you? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I had to wait because he was like, well, we need a third officer. And I've already said that you need to get searched. So, that's what we're doing. I'm going to go talk to him. I was like, okay. My dad was sitting there and he was, hopefully I'm not oversharing, Dad. I'm sorry in advance, but obviously like my dad was pissed. And so he's, screaming at this dude. He comes back and he was just like, oh, man, I didn't know you were doing all these things. I didn't know you were blah, 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 and da, 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 da. And I'm just sitting there like, what do you mean? You never asked. You thought I had something on me. I'm shaking. I'm nervous as hell. Like I was like, man, I don't even know what's going to be the result of this, And so, the third officer eventually comes up. They just ransack my entire vehicle, right? Flip the seats, they flip my bag, they do all these things because they're trying to find something now because they realize that they're kind of like, oh man, maybe we got the wrong person or whatever they interpreted it to be. Yeah, it was just a really tough time. And like I said, I was supposed to go to work, but I called and I said, man, I can't do this today. I told them what I had going on and I got home and luckily I was able to go home. You know what I mean? There's so many people that, yes, the people we see on the news, of course, but there's so many people that don't even make it onto the news, right? That they don't even get to see the light of day afterwards. So I was lucky I was even home, but it messed me up. And I think it comes to a point, right, where I thought in my hometown, I thought everything was good. And, it just doesn't work that way. Obviously, to this day, I still get very nervous. We all get uneasiness with, police cars behind us. But, it took a while for me to kind of be okay and not have to take an exit or switch a lane and kind of do stuff like that. I really wanted to come on here and share my story just because, I don't know what other people's experiences are or if they're not willing to share, whatever the case may be. And I want to hear other people's stories or just to let you know that it's okay, right? Like it's okay that it's not okay. If my story can help somebody, it'll make all the difference, even if it's just one. And I think sometimes going on here and talking about what my experiences have been or what brought me to this point now, I think it helps me a lot too, because I think these are a lot of things that, naturally you don't tell a lot of people or share a lot because it's a hard memory. And so, yeah, and I choose to take it and use it as as fuel for me to keep going and doing what I'm doing in the hard days and knowing that the result of what I want out of all of this is going to be meaningful in the long run. I think that that is what's going to make it okay for me. And so, yeah, I hope that you guys can like, comment, subscribe. If there's anything you want to share in the comments, let me know. But if not, that's okay too. And I hope to see y'all for the next one. And I'll be happy to answer any questions below. And yeah, I really appreciate it if you've made it all the way to this point. And yeah, until the next time, thanks, family.